Wonderful. Okay, I'm live. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different than most of my content, but I just want to talk about this somewhere. I want to have somewhere where my thoughts about this are gathered because I do think that this program that's been on the air for a while does tie into a lot of the stuff that has been on my channel. I also just want to come out. I think I find regularly that people who I wouldn't suspect are in some way fans of this show. So, yeah, I'm just going to talk today informally about my thoughts about this show. Oh, we've got a viewer. Hi, Frank. Good that you're here. I don't know if you've watched the Sister Wives show, but I'm going to be sharing just some of my thoughts. It's still on. Yes, it's still on. And it's getting ugly. So I'm gonna be here talking about it. Oh hey baby, you've been sleeping. No, I'm here. No, I'm live. You want some attention? Yes. So yeah, I'll just get started kind of on my experience with this show. I watched the first few seasons when not when it first came out, but I watched them like a couple of years after it came out. It was a time when I'd actually had an accident, so I was kind of just recovering and I was watching a lot of different stuff. I just needed to have shows to watch. I watched a lot of trash at that time, just. Um, and I liked the show, but it was a bit too like cute for me, and I didn't really find it that entertaining at the time, so I didn't continue watching. I was interested in what it was about when it first came out because it was very different. It was this unique look, I felt, or what it was portraying itself as was like this unique look at a subculture in the US that we don't really know much about, which is this fundamentalist Mormon, polygamist kind of community. And what most of us have experience with, at least what I knew about them, was you'd see these, news stories about these cults being raided, and the women were all in these like handmade clothes and they were wearing bonnets. And it seemed to be this very like weird patriarchal cult. And it is. Just because people are wearing normal clothes doesn't mean that they're not in a weird patriarchal cult. Um, but yeah, I was curious. I think like a lot of people were. So I watched the first few seasons and I just gave it up, because it just wasn't for me. I'm not really into that whole like families getting together doing cute stuff. I thought I just wasn't into it. But I appreciated like just maybe the exposure, and I liked all the women. I had a favorite wife. I think most people do who've watched the show. Mine was Mary at the time. I thought I related most to her. I guess I thought she was to me like the most I guess woman I would be friends with. I would say, although I liked Janelle, I didn't really care for Christine or Robin, but my interest was piqued. I think it was last year or the year before when it was announced publicly that Christine and Cody had separated or that she was leaving him. Um, so she was the third wife. Um, I use that term loosely because these women are not in any way wives, and in the USA, polygamy is illegal. So these women do not have any legal status as wives. Um, and when you kind of dig into the problems that arise from polygamy, even though this show tried to portray it in a very normal, lighthearted way, you even see a lot of the problems in this direct family that other people who live this lifestyle are facing. I mean, you have one male, multiple wives, way too many children. It's a mess, and a lot of these kids are living in poverty. They're not getting adequate attention, and that's present on the show. Just from what I've seen of it. So I'll say I've watched the first couple of seasons and then gave it up. And then I started watching again after, it was revealed that Christine was leaving because it piqued my interest. I was like, well, I want to see like, where are they at now? Why is she leaving? When I last was watching the show, they had moved to Las Vegas. And then come to find out they were living in Flagstaff, Arizona. Um, and the situations they were all in were very different. So at the beginning, the three wives and the husband were all living in this home together. And it's introduced that he's getting this new wife and she's separate. And then they moved to Las Vegas under this, I guess it was artificial, drummed up for the production effort, but they made it appear as though they were being prosecuted for polygamy in Utah, which was not the case, come to find out. But anyway, they moved to Las Vegas into this cul-de-sac. Each wife gets a separate home. But I kind of had suspicion at the beginning that, there was some favoritism with this new wife. I mean, why wouldn't there be? A new relationship is always going to be more exciting than one that you've had for, I mean, he was married to these women for 20 years, multiple kids. It's boring. He gets this new woman. I mean, it made sense to me. That's just human nature, right? I didn't really care for her personality because she seemed, like I said, I just didn't relate to her in any way. Like I related to more like women like Mary and Janelle at the time, just because of my own way of being. So it's really, Christine, the third wife, did a lot, it appears, to make herself comfortable to leave this man, essentially, or to leave the family structure that she was dependent on. And she played it really smart. And just from little snippets of what she's revealed publicly, she had conversations years back with Janelle, the second wife, about how she did want to leave him. And Janelle had financially advised her, like, you need to make sure that you've got your money together if you're going to leave him, which is true in any relationship you want to leave. I mean, I've had to deal with that in relationships where you're splitting finances and it's starting to break apart. You have to figure it out. And you have to figure it out usually before you make your exit. But when there's kids involved and it gets even messier. So she had an asset. She had gotten a house when she'd moved to Flagstaff. She had purchased a home. So she was able to take the equity of that, and she had it in her name. So that's the other thing. She was able to get it in her name. She was making her money independently. But in these episodes I was watching, you could see like the inequality that was present and some things that had happened. I wasn't really, I had heard of just because it was in the ether, He had divorced his first wife. So, in the US, you can only be married to one person at a time. Duh. So his first wife, Mary, was the legal wife. And as the legal wife, they have a certain status. So after that, he divorces this woman. I guess I'd heard about it because there was like a catfishing issue. Years later, he divorces his first wife. She's emotionally distraught, feeling abandoned. She starts this relationship with a person online who's pretending to be someone they're not, ends up getting exposed. She has to come out, and he's just done with her at that point. So, in that circumstance, the way they talk about it too, and even recently, because the older kids have been creating their own platforms and talking about these things, they're still referring to it as if she was having an affair or cheating. And it's he divorced her. So he divorced her so he could marry the fourth wife, which was to me okay, that's indicative that he is favoriting or showing favoritism to this woman. and her kids, because she brought kids into that marriage. She was already married before, she'd had several kids. And they did it under the auspices of providing health insurance to her kids. However, he has all these other kids with the second and third wife. So why weren't those kids prioritized in terms of this kind of thing? It just, it was fraudulent, and it was clearly to make it so that she would have the rights that previously were held by the first wife, who was no longer in favor. So anyway, man, it's a mess, but it's so interesting. I brought up this story with the second wife and the third wife kind of consulting about the fact that the third wife wanted to leave. And the second wife, she's kind of a financially educated woman. She's a career woman. She's had multiple careers, and she's kind of one of the main breadwinners in that family. And I'll get to your comments, y'all. I just want to kind of get this stuff out of me and talk about like what I've seen and how I interpret it. She's actually recently revealed that she's separating, or that they've separated at this time, her and her husband. I mean, this, in any other circumstance, these women would just be like baby mamas, or, like low class concubines. It's not, these women have had no status. Okay. This woman specifically, and I wanted to talk about her specifically because I have a lot of women that watch my channel that are, independent minded as well. And they are interested in having a career and, earning their own money, and like, don't need no man. And that in many ways was the way Janelle was. She was very independent. She, talked about liking this lifestyle because it gave her independence, but she kind of played her hand poorly because she put, I think, too much trust into this family unit that really didn't have her back. And now she's leaving the family without really any assets from what I can see. I mean, she's older too. So she's kind of been put in this nasty position when she really had demonstrated a lot of loyalty to this faith. And like, from what I understand, she was a convert to this faith. So it's even worse. But yeah, I want to talk about her position specifically because she's in this position now of, when they moved to Flagstaff, she ended up renting a home because I guess they bought this property, right? Together as a family, what have you. And the fourth wife purchased a home, really nice home, very, very big, nice home. And the third wife purchased a home. The first wife and the second wife, though, decided to rent their homes, I think because with the intention that they believe they would be trying to move on to this property. But apparently it has not been paid off, and it could be, taken from them because they apparently have not been paying for it. So yeah, this second wife is in the position now. She's leaving this family without any kind of equity. Like, the third wife played her hand well in that she had purchased a home and she had a plan. Like, she was going to sell that at one point when she moved away and like finally made her exit once she got her kind of financially independent. But I don't think I'm going to be watching any more of this show, though, because I have watched the past 2 seasons and I've just found it really, honestly, difficult to watch. It's actually kind of difficult to, I would just say there's a lot of, I think any viewer, and I think from what I understand, just what I've seen of like people who are fans of the show who talk about it online, a lot of people are feeling kind of similarly that the situation has been like really bad. The husband in the show is very just nasty, and he's constantly like doing mental games, and just is not very, he's just not honest. He's just not honest, and that's kind of a big problem with it. But I found it really uncomfortable to watch, like, because there's been many episodes where he's like screaming, saying things to these women that are just ridiculous, and I just don't want to see. I honestly don't want to see Janelle, the second wife, get treated poorly anymore, because she was just so. From what I see, she like has worked her butt off, to support this insane situation because of her faith and because of her loyalty to this man who's not had her back in a very long time, or maybe ever. And yeah, I just see, like, I don't really want to see any more of that personally. But I think it's a cautionary tale, honestly, of what's happened to her specifically. And I think how the position a lot of women put themselves in when they put too much trust into anyone outside themselves. Like they believe that other people have their best interest at heart. And it's just not the case. Nobody's going to have your interest more than you do. And I feel like she just kind of put way too much trust in this arrangement, thinking that it was going to be there for her. And it's kind of panned out not to be. Thankfully, she's, very intelligent. She's very capable. She has a good relationship with the third wife. This is the other thing too. Just watching this, it's like there's so many things about this. They had created this show to give us the impression that this was normal, that this was just another lifestyle, that it was okay. And it's not. Like, it really isn't. There's even been a lot of distress and neglect in a lot of the children on the show, kind of coming forward. The older kids, specifically the children of the second and third wife, kind of speaking out about how they've been neglected, how their father's not there for them, how, and even seeing it on the show, there was one of the daughters of the third wife had scoliosis, and she needed to have a back surgery to repair her spine. And she had to go to the East Coast, and this was happening during the pandemic. And she was in so much pain, and she had been suffering for years with this problem. And he didn't go with her, for this surgery. She didn't have her father there. And she felt, she understood intellectually the reasons why he didn't want to go. But then, you could see her heartache at the fact that she didn't have her father there with her, which is, it's a big thing for a teen girl to go through something like that. And in a normal family, like in a monogamous family, that's something that, a father would prioritize. But this guy has 18 biological children, from what I understand. I think that's right. Or it could be that a couple of them are his adopted kids, but that's a lot of children to be responsible for in any circumstance. And if this wasn't, if this wasn't ordained by this faith of theirs, anybody looking at the situation from the outside would be like, yeah, this guy's, irresponsible with his penis, basically. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And even as such, he is there's no justification for one man to be spreading his seed around like that unless there's been a war and all the men are gone. Like there's no justification for that. And I think that's also part of how this religion developed as well. From what I understand, there was a situation and time where this specific community was facing a shortage of men. And that's part of how polygamy was started. But I mean, that's a circumstance, you know, anyhow, there is no way, to do this equitably. There's no way to do this fairly. And there's no way to, in any sense, I mean, a person just cannot love that many people equally. It does not work that way. And a lot of, I guess that's the other thing about it. Is at the beginning, I remember the show, they would be like, or the husband had this line like, love should be multiplied, not divided. It does not work that way. It just isn't real. It doesn't, like I said at the beginning, it doesn't follow human nature. It is natural for us to, have our affections spared for one person or maybe a few people more than like a lot of people. You cannot divvy out your love. It just isn't endless. Love is an action. Love is a verb. You can't just give and give and give that to everyone. It's not humanly possible. So, I mean, I guess what I've kind of taken away from it is that I am glad that polygamy is illegal in the United States, and I hope it remains so, because this kind of lifestyle, and they're living really good for people in this community. I mean, if you do any digging and you find out like kind of the complications of this lifestyle on children, on women, it's devastating. You have a lot of women who are single. Okay, they're not really married to these men. They're living in their own homes, often, not in very good circumstances, on government benefits. It costs society generally. I mean, we talk about that. It's costing society itself to try and have to like provide for all these kids, because these, patriarchs in these communities are having more kids than they can feed. And even like the stuff that's been coming out from some of the older kids is pretty devastating as well. I mean, they talk about the poverty they lived in before the show and how they ate or didn't eat, or the conditions they lived in, how many people they had living under one roof, or, in just situations that are incredibly awful. And this is with multiple breadwinners. Okay, like, it's just, it's so ghetto. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, it's just not a good way, for children to be raised. Anyway, I'm going to stop for a moment and kind of catch up on the comments, because I could go on. But let's see what everybody's saying. Okay. Yeah. M says you've never seen Sister Wives. Good for you, honey. Seth B says, interesting how the wives never bring in a second husband. Well, I mean, that wouldn't be proper in their religion. And I remember there was one episode where the first wife was having, I think, their anniversary dinner with her husband, talking about how she was feeling jealous. And he was just like, well, you need to deal with that, honey. Like, and she brought to him this example, like, well, what if I was with another, what if the role was reversed? What if I had brought in a brother husband? And he was just like, that's just foul. I mean, like, that's just disgusting to think of you being so depraved. Like, they don't even think of the fact that they don't consider women that way. Women just don't. In their community, their eyes, that's just not something that would happen. If a woman is unfaithful to her husband in this like faith, like let's say a third wife has an affair with another man, she's broken her covenant with her husband. Okay, so like in their faith, that basically is akin to, breaking their marriage. I mean, it's grounds for divorce, in monogamy as well. But like, It's just the idea that women would even behave in the same way sexually as men do is beyond their comprehension. Hi, Big Bad Mama. Oh, yeah, Frank Salazar, Arts Nation. I remember one of the wives had gotten catfished by someone. Didn't know if any of that was ever mentioned in any of the seasons. Yeah, it's like this recurring thing that they bring up over and over again to justify why she doesn't have a place in the family. And actually, it's been announced that that wife, they're like now divorced. I mean, they divorced what, 10 years ago at this point. I don't know how long ago it was. They legally divorced a long time ago, but she was still part of the family, although it was very clear that she didn't have any contact really with them outside of the show. Sweetheart, come on, stop. Stop it. Stop it. Oh. Okay. And that's another thing. Like, I didn't even get me started. I already went off on that. Like, they're treating it like it's an affair. The way he talks about it, the fact that she was talking to someone else, with any sort of romantic intent was akin to an affair. And it turned out to be a woman that was talking to her and that was like fooling her, I think, to kind of get information out of her and just to, I mean, it's cruel. I don't know why that woman would do such a thing, honestly, because like my heart goes out to her. Like, why would you even do that to someone who was suffering so much? Like, why would you, put her in that position? It makes me sick. But anyway, why do people do the horrible things they do? I don't know. I stopped watching after the first season. I figured the authorities would be knocking on their door after the first couple episodes aired. Yeah, that never really happened, although they pretended it was going to happen. It didn't really happen. 18 kids is a lot to take care of. I doubt they all get proper attention. No, they don't. Seth says, I can't imagine loving multiple people like that. I simply don't have enough time. Yeah, that's the thing too. On top of like working, like, and doing all the things you have to do throughout the day, how do you even have that to give to someone? Like, you don't. It's not possible. On top of having 18 kids, you're going to give like romantic attention to 4 women. Okay, 4 different women who are all different people. And that's the other thing on the show that really pisses me off. He's constantly comparing his other wives to his newest wife. Like, why aren't you more like her? You need to behave more like her. I'm like, they're different people. They're not going to act the same. That's not possible. But I guess they just have a really weird dynamic anyway. And I think they're like, I don't want to like, I understand it. I understand why they have the dynamic they do, but like it's irritating to see other people, other women kind of be gaslit about it. And and also the viewers as well, because everybody can see what's going on. Everybody sees what's going on. You like her best, so you give her everything. Anything she needs, anything she wants, she gets. The other women have to fend for themselves. We see it, but he's like constantly coming up with these bullshit, BS justifications for why. And it's BS. It just is. Like, it's because you don't want, it's because your feeling isn't there, dude. Just like, come on. Maybe because this isn't like, it's not good for society, and it doesn't really suit human nature, which is to favor someone, you know? Maybe you could have, maybe you could have like a wife and a girlfriend or a mistress. Maybe you can like do that. Maybe you can do that. But more than that, I just don't see it working. I just don't see it working. Like, I don't get it. And you're still going to favor one more than the other. Just the legal status of that a wife has alone that alone says it. And the fact that he divorced the first wife to marry the fourth one, hello, like that shifted the whole power dynamic. And then the two women in the middle just like, guess our kids don't get insurance. I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. That poor girl that has the spinal issues, she didn't have insurance. Her mother had to make that happen for her, okay, on her own. I don't even, the anger. Like just the anger for these kids too, because it's not just these women were adults. Some of them were involved in, well, I will say like Christine was raised in this, like the third wife, she was raised in that. She comes from a line of them. Um, you know, you could say she was brainwashed a bit. I think Mary was from that community as well, also kind of, you could say that, but like at the end of the day, they were adults when they married him. They had, but these kids were just born into this messed up situation. And it's sad for me. Okay. All right, let's see, Frank. The fundamentalists offshooted from the LDS faith after they decided to outlaw polygamy in their faith. It was a hard lifestyle to maintain already. Yeah, and I mean, the Mormon Church did kind of change their laws so that they could, in effect, I think it was part of Utah's statehood as well, that the U.S. was not willing to accept that kind of situation, like the polygamy. It just wasn't going to go down. So part of that was it was outlawed for those reasons. And I'm sure that was difficult for people who are already living in these circumstances. I mean, if you're a man who does have multiple wives in that circumstance, like, what are you going to do? But that was like a long time ago. And you would think that people would stop doing this. And it's interesting too, because like none of the kids from this series, at least that we know of so far, have wanted to repeat this lifestyle. All of them want out. I don't know about the fourth wife's kids, what's going to happen with them, because they do seem to be kind of helicoptered a bit. And it may be the fact that they may end up in this just because, she seems to be such a believer. Also, let offshoot. Okay. I really don't like that woman. Okay. And like, when I first was introduced to her, like I didn't have the like hate I do now, but like she is really hateable. And I don't think it's just the editing. I think it's just like, it's the constant playing the victim when she has the best circumstance out of all the women. But she's always crying and acting like they've victimized her. And it's the biggest, like, whatever. I mean, people don't like that, period. And she's very unpopular with the fandom from what I can see, just because of that. Like, people do not like people that play the victim. They just don't. So if you're going to make that your thing, people are going to hate you, period. It's more like side chicks than sister wives. It's okay, Polar Nights. We got lots to say, and you share your thoughts about this show. M says, as a gay man, I feel so much self-loathing because I definitely would with Cody. Honey, have you seen the close-ups of his head? Okay, he had like hair transplants a while ago. He literally is bald from like here to here, and he has hair here and back here. Like, no, you would not. You would not. You would not. No. You wouldn't. Not if you met him in person. Not if he was just some random guy that you saw at the bar. You'd be like, what, dude, what's up with your hair? No. It's is Sister Wives a TV show? Well, Google is my friend. Yes, a reality TV show. Sorry. And I'm sorry, but I have to get this out of me. I just have to talk about this. I just have to get it out because this is just, it's a mess. It's a damn mess. A damn mess. Cody. Ugh. Ugh. He's awful. And you know what? He's a convert to this religion as well. And interestingly enough, little fact or little tidbit that I picked up, the time he joined the fundamentalist section of the Mormons community was just around the time that the LDS actually started allowing Black people to join the church. Now, I don't know if they're related, but I like to think they are because I hate him. As a straight man, who's Cody? He's the keeper of the sister wives. Ew, bald guys. No, honey, he's not bald. I wish I like a bald guy. That's not a problem. The bald guy is not, bald is not bad. It's this. It's the hair transplant rim. It's this. He got all this hair back here and he's got bangs, but it's this like headband of, oh, it's nasty. It's nasty. Oh, okay. And then let's talk about the tell-alls. They did these tell-alls, okay, in the past couple seasons that I've watched. And I guess they did them with the past seasons, but like I said, I only watched the first few seasons and then these most recent ones because I found out, oh, these wives are leaving. I want to catch up with them. It's like catching up with the Browns or whatever. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, those are really disturbing as well. And his behavior in them. I mean, it's reality TV too, so we talk about that. But like these tell-alls, I mean, they just sit down and they kind of share their thoughts and opinions. They rewatch parts of the show and give their like reaction to it. He was really gross in them. I honestly felt like he was on something watching the last ones. Just because of how he was, I don't know, his behavior was bizarre. I mean, it's bizarre, period. And honestly, like, they seem so normal at first, but when you really get down to it, we don't really know much about these people specifically, and I don't think they're, most of them are people you'd want to be around. It's the curtain bangs, the curtain bangs. It's bad. Just like let it go. Like let it go, sir. And you know what? Actually, I watched because like I said, I've been following up with what some of the older kids have been doing, and their son, the son Peyton from the third wife, Christine and Cody's son, he did some live stream, which I watched most of on a YouTuber's channel. He went live with them and he was talking about a lot of stuff and revealed a lot of things about their families. That was interesting kind of insight. But he had said that somebody had asked like in the chat, like about his hair, like Cody's hair. That was like, does he curl his hair? Because, in the earlier episodes, his hair was straight. And so yeah, he had mentioned like, yeah, I don't think that's how his hair naturally is. So I don't know what's going on. I think maybe the curls are a way of maybe making his hair look fuller than it is because he has balded and he can't deal with it. I don't know. The gel on the permed bangs. I mean, a man should not have that much going on with his hair. I just feel that way. Like, if you're a man, your hair should not be that styled, sir. That's inappropriate. Are you a lady? No. Okay. Save the pomade, save the gel, save the perm for your wife. Want to be like the patriarch of the family when you got hair like a woman's. Come on. Most reality TV is a mess. Yes. It's good at making me feel better about my own life and what I don't have to deal with. Yeah, I suppose that's part of it too. And I mean, I try not to watch this stuff, but Sister Wives is just one of the ones. And I think it was just the fact of what it was about, how it was first presented, and like I said, I didn't want to watch it because I don't really find it that interesting watching like families get together and have birthday parties and like go on trips. It's just, if I wanted to, if I were entertained by that kind of thing, I'd probably have done it myself with my life. But, the idea of like taking my kids on a trip sounds like hell. So yeah, I didn't really get into it, but I am kind of just watching it and giving my thoughts about it because I think this specifically for me has solidified that I definitely am against polygamy. I mean, because if these people are like the most privileged of that community and this is how bad it is, I want you to like imagine what it's like for most people living it. I mean, because this isn't just happening to like what's happening to these women happens to lots of women. Like they're used while they're fertile, they're discarded, and then they're gaslit about it for the rest of their life. Like while the husband takes on a new wife, another new wife, another new wife. At least with monogamy, and yes, we have no fault divorce in the US, but at least there are, you can't just discard a woman that way. There's shit you got to do. Okay. There's things you have to do. A marriage, when it's dissolved, is not easy. Okay. And there's, assets that are shared. A woman has certain rights. And for these women who are not legally married to these men, they have no rights. None. And if they leave with like the clothes on their back. Okay. And then, the other thing too that I've noticed with this show, the other thing I've noticed too is like, and from what I've seen as well, like when women leave, because women often do, they get fed up because it's a horrible situation to be in too, because, the other thing is too, these women, like, they have to deal with the jealousy, on top of everything else, which I don't know about all of you, but I've been jealous before in my life, and it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. And you just imagine, like, the fact that your husband is with another woman and that he loves this other woman. And he has like, and you see the like differences between like what he's giving to her versus you. And like, if there's a lack of affection between you or things aren't working out well with you, and you see him over here with this woman and they're like holding hands and he's like sweet, like you just imagine like the kind of heartache that like all these women are going through that are in these communities. And to me, that's also like really appalling. The fact that would be, acceptable. It's not good for a community. It's not good for society for people to be in that level of, heartache. Obviously, it goes on outside of it, and like you don't have to be in polygamy to hurt people, but it definitely seems to be inevitable in polygamy. It definitely seems to be inevitable that you will really damage people in that way. And so, yeah, when these women leave, they're scapegoated, they're blamed. They weren't good enough, they weren't religious enough, they weren't faithful enough, they didn't know how to be, sweet. They didn't. And the thing is too, like if your husband is gone, let's say he has 4 wives, you see him once or twice a week. When he does come around, how are you going to act? Because you're probably very like desperate. And that's the other thing too. You're probably very desperate, lonely, and just wanting to have that time that you spend with him and that he spends with your kids to be good. So you kind of imagine like these women just stuffing down all those emotions of jealousy and bitterness and resentment and like what it does to them. It's like from that other angle too. I mean, we see it out in the show, period. And these women, are set up pretty well. Like I said, again, for this type of community, for this type of lifestyle, they're in a pretty privileged position. And the fact is that they're public figures now. So they have options that a lot of women leaving these communities don't have. And if you were raised in this community, your parents are from it, you have siblings in it, imagine how much harder it is to leave. Imagine what they have to go through. And so either you just sit there, deal with the heartache, inequality, abandonment, while yet still being like claimed by this man and having his kids and having him feel like he has some sort of right to you, or you leave and you lose everything else and like your community shuns you and blames you. And there's also been situations as well like this. They had on this show one of the husband Cody's friends who was charged with like viciously beating one of his wives. She left him. He physically attacked her. And that case was used to try and like create some further laws around polygamy, more criminalization around polygamy because of, what went on in this particular circumstance. And, that family defended this guy. Like they had him on the show and were defending him. So, that's kind of the nature of it. So even like in this circumstance where it's obvious that a husband is, not good to his wives, not treating them well, the community still rallies around him when she chooses to leave. They still blame her. They still make her out to be the bad one when like she never really had any power to begin with. And if she's not even a legal wife, like, come on. It's sick. I just, sick. I just, no. And I think that's the other thing, part of it too, and why I won't be watching any more of it, because like I said, I've watched the past couple of seasons, but like I just have this nasty feeling in me. And it's just because I know like what's really going on here under the surface and how twisted it all really is and how it's being presented as just like a normal family, a normal thing. And it's anything but. Anyway, let's catch up. I steer away from people. Hi, Achan, good you're here. I steer away from people who are or want to be in polygamous relationships. Yeah, I mean, I would differentiate between polyamory, which is also BS, but I'll put that out there. I don't believe in that either. I think I did a video about that years ago, like why polyamory is bad for women or something like that. But people still, think that it's going to be different. But for me personally, I just don't tolerate it. Once people start talking about that, I'm just like done. I'm done. I'm too old for that too. I'm like, okay, like whatever. I mean, if you mean that you're dating multiple people because you're not really interested in anyone specific and you want to like get to know people better, okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine to not be committed. But like when you talk about like being in a committed relationship with someone here and over there and elsewhere, no, thank you. That's nasty. Like multiple sexual relationships. No, I don't want a part of any of that. I don't want to be around people doing that either. Totally agree with you. I mean, like I said, there's certain circumstances where I think, I understand if people are, long-term relationship, they aren't really into each other that way anymore. I think then it's okay for them to have some sort of agreement. But at the end of the day, like still, I just don't want to hear about it. That's another thing too. They always want to talk about it. It's like veganism or something. It's like, and they want to evangelize about it. They're like, oh, yeah, well, I believe in open relationships and polyamory. And it's like, okay, I didn't ask. I don't care. Thanks for letting me know, though. I don't know why you just told that to me. I don't want like to dig it. I understand why a vegan might tell me they're vegan if we're like gonna like hang out and like because how they eat's gonna affect you. But like it comes up, it would make more sense than the way like people just casually drop that they're like poly. Ugh. Nothing wrong with bald guys. I'm not just a member of the Bald Club for Men. I'm also the president. Well, good for you. That's good. It's good to, be part of clubs, and it's good that you've taken on a leadership role too. One thing that annoys me is how people who are really pro multiple partners talk about how they never get jealous as if they are enlightened above the normies. I don't believe them either. It's not humanly possible to not become jealous. Maybe you don't become jealous about certain things, but inevitably jealousy will rise up. I don't think that's possible. And the thing is, too, like, if that's your chosen lifestyle, you're going to have to deal with jealousy. It's not about like, you have to deal with it. Okay. You're going to have to deal with the fact that jealousy exists. Okay. And you're going to figure out what you're going to do about it when it comes up. But like pretending that an emotion isn't there doesn't make it go away. It just makes it more powerful and just makes it more destructive. So yeah, that kind of stuff is just gaslighting to me. Either that, or I think they're a narcissist and they're not really capable of like understanding human emotions, and they're just pretending. You know that I agree with you about that. That stuff is just not. Polar Knight says poly is just agreed upon emotional and physical cheating. Salazar Art Nation says, how many wives stuck around? None of them. Okay, so just recently, and I guess maybe this is pivotal, I'll talk about this now. First wife to leave officially was Christine, third wife. Secondly, Janelle announced on the tell-all that they are separated, that she and Cody have separated. And then recently, Cody and Mary, the first wife, announced that they are divorced, which we all knew. They divorced a long time ago, but they've made it official that they are not in any way in any type of like marriage or relationship. So yeah, he has one wife, and it's Robin, the fourth wife, the one that he married when he divorced the first wife. Frank says jealousy is inevitable. Even in non polygamous households, there's envy. The kids get jealous of the siblings. Right, right, right. People get jealous of one another. I get jealous sometimes. Somebody has something I want. I'm jealous. It's not that it's the spouse sometimes feels like they're competing with work. Yes, the kids. Now add poly. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. If people want to like, ruin their life, okay. You know, okay. Frank says Will Smith is in a polyamory relationship, but it was basically forced on him. He has one partner, but his wife doesn't. He snapped publicly because it's hard to cope with. Whoa, wait, what? Wait, what? Is that what the stuff was about Will Smith? Because I remember these memes coming out, like, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, with like him crying. Is that what that's about? That's so pathetic. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. He's the man. What? His wife has multiple partners and he doesn't? Why not? He's Will Smith. What? Love yourself, King. Know your worth, King. That's silly. Is that what that's about? Okay, like, because I saw like stuff about, but I didn't really want to dig into it. I didn't want to dig into it because it's like, again, celebrity gossip. It's bad enough that I'm on here talking about a reality show, but what a reality show. So, okay, that's what that is. So he's still married to Jada Pinkett, right? Give me the Will Smith tea. I did not know about this. Yes, he's married to Jada Pinkett. So she has multiple partners and he doesn't. Oh my God. And they like are openly talking about this with the public. Why? That's crazy. Is it true? Is it true or is this just like sometimes I think people just fake this stuff to like get on TV and get attention for their like most recent movies or whatever. Polar Night says Polly adds unnecessary pressure and stress. They're very open about it. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. Why would you be open about that? He's a man. What is he doing? Will said the experiences that the freedoms that we've given one another and the unconditional support to me is the highest definition of love. I mean, like, okay, they've been married a long time. And like I said, like, I understand that sometimes things fizzle out physically between couples. And you wouldn't necessarily just dissolve a marriage and a life that you built together because of that. So in those circumstances, I do understand why people like, but because maybe your partner is more your spouse is more your best friend than your lover. I do see that come up sometimes, and I do understand like why people in those circumstances may seek or may just end up having like affairs or romances outside the marriage. I understand. I understand that, like, and I do think that it isn't necessarily a good idea to just dissolve a marriage because of, maybe that aspect not being fulfilled anymore. But I mean, that's none of our business. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's like not the public's business. That I feel like if you respect your marriage, you're still going to keep that on the down low, You're not going to do that. You're not going to let us all know about it. And Will has had to explain how Jada isn't the only one seeing other people. So Will is seeing other people. Honey, I don't know. I didn't know. I did not know, Frank. I didn't know about what was going on with the Pinkett-Smiths. I didn't know. But thank you. I'm glad that this talk about the sister wives has turned in. Anybody else have any any other crazy ass relationships out there? Crazy ass marriages? I don't know about. I mean, you see that, okay, like an example of this, and this is not like a goals couple or anything, but like an example of what I'm talking about. Okay. Hillary Rodham and Bill Clinton. Okay. That couple, for example. Now they're not going to dissolve that marriage because obvious reasons. They're expedient to one another. They built a life together. They built an empire together. They're not going to break up. They're probably very good friends. However, Bill, we all know Bill gets around. Okay. Like, and it's just how it is. And I think a lot of people end up in situations like that where you wouldn't necessarily want to dissolve everything you've worked for and built. However, your partner, your spouse just isn't doing it for you. And I think that's normal. But again, it's not like he's making his side chick, a wife too, or his concubine, like, taking on concubines. It's just, there's a way to do it with a little bit of class. Not that he's been classy, he's been very disgusting in some circumstances. Okay. Okay, so his wife never wanted to be married. He loves her, but it's a toxic relationship. Oh no. She publicly talks about her relationship and he just takes it. I think Will has to say he has relationships too because it's too embarrassing. Oh my God. That is juicy. Seth says, I don't know. I think I'd rather be alone, honestly. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm single. So I'm judging all these people's relationships and I don't have one. But I mean, part of why I'm single is like, yeah, I don't want to have, to me, I'd rather be alone than have something that isn't worth having. You know what I mean? It's like, because I've got it, myself. And it's like, if somebody isn't adding value, if somebody isn't improving my life, if somebody doesn't make it better, if it's just more chaos and mess and like emotional distress, why have it? That's how I see it. That, I mean, for me personally. But I'm not going to sit here and like, I understand that, some people do better in a partnership. Maybe I would do better in the right partnership. Like if I wouldn't turn, for me personally, like I'd love to have someone, but I haven't found the right fit. So it is what it is. And if I did find someone, in that circumstance, we built this life together, like, I don't know. I don't know how I would feel at that time. But I sure as hell wouldn't be okay with a lot of this nonsense that I just expect a certain level of class. Just a certain level of class. Can't we could just have some class? That's all. Just like this thing. Seth B. Lol, the Sister Wives Pinkett-Smiths stream. I'll probably change the name after I'm done here. Once I get off live, I'll be like Sister Wives to Pinkett-Smiths. I don't think he does have any relationships, referring to Will Smith, or if he does, it's to maintain dignity. I mean, okay, I thought he was cute when I was younger. I mean, he is. He is. He's an attractive man. I mean, he's successful. He must really love her or like just have very low self esteem or both. Maybe they're like, you know what? I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to go there with them. Because honestly, their relationship is kind of funny. He seems to be like the more feminine partner. She seems to be the more masculine one. But I just like, what did he do? What did he do to deserve that from her? That's to me like that too. Like, why would you do that? Like, if I loathed a man that much, I would just leave him. I mean, that just sounds humiliating. You know what I mean? If you actually loathe somebody you were with that much, wouldn't you just leave? Why would you humiliate them that way? But maybe she doesn't see it that way. Maybe she thinks that she's enlightened, like all of these polyamorous people do, and she's going to teach us all the right way, the enlightened way. But in reality, she's humiliating her husband, and that's sad. It's sad. I would never do that to someone. Never. Polar Knight says, I mean, I get it takes a special kind of person and energy to be able to have multiple partners and divide all these aspects of a relationship to different people. It does take a special kind of person. That's a good way of putting it. I hope I've offended some people watching who think that polyamory is good, though, because it's not. Polyamory is not good. Polygamy is not good. I'm glad it's illegal. Polygamy is definitely worse. Seth says Terri is classy for sure. Oh, thank you, honey. I have sworn a few times in this stream, but hopefully Google will forgive me. Hopefully it was like well into the stream too. Seth says, I've never been attracted to someone who happens to be polyamorous. I don't know if there's a correlation there. I know. Like, I don't know. It's like I hear that word and like, it's just like, ooh. Ooh. I don't know. Something about it. It's just like, ooh. There's that song by that, Chris Fleming. It's never who you want to be polyamorous that's polyamorous. You're never like, oh, cool. It's usually someone that you're like, no, ugh. And that's the thing too. Like you hear about, like I hear about these couples. I remember hearing it like this one guy who was a YouTuber years ago. Like he and his girlfriend came out about their polyamory, and people were like, "God, how the hell did you two find other people?" But that's the thing. That's the way it goes. Because I like look around sometimes. I'm like, why am I single? I think that, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? And then I look around at the people who are like, always getting around, and I'm kind of like, maybe it's just like when, I don't know. I think it's just maybe it's also about standards and like what you'll take as well. Not that I've like had the best relationships, but like I look around sometimes and like these people are just like always are in a relationship, and I'm like, they're not even. They don't have class, they don't have style, they don't have taste, they're not good looking, they don't have even money really. And you're just like, why? Why is this person like so successful at like just, but are they successful? That's the thing too. Like you have to like wonder, it's like, are they successful or are they just like, I don't know, persistent? I wonder about it though sometimes because I'm usually just like, When those moments when I'm like lonely, I guess, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? And then I look around and I'm like, do I really want any of what's available? Polar Knight says, me being monogamous, someone being poly would turn me off. Lol. Yeah, I think too, maybe it's like, in my experience too, just because I've been like exposed to a lot of people that are, part of like either radical subcultures or, different alternative lifestyles. I get exposed to it a lot, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's never. And they describe me as monogamous, and it's like, no, I mean, it's not just that. It's not just that that I'm monogamous. It's not just that. It's not just that. But also at the same time, I'm like, I do want that kind of relationship where I'm special to someone. And how special am I going to be if you're like with this person over here or this person over there? But then at the same time, too, it's like you can't just expect someone that you just met is going to like be in a relationship with you. There is a courting period, and you can't expect that they're just going to commit to you right away. I think that's something to consider as well, because like for me, I'm dating at this time, so I'm not committed to anyone, but I do go on dates occasionally with different people. So wouldn't, if somebody were to get jealous about that, like I would probably, I would maybe understand if they really liked me or something, but there's not a solid commitment. But what I am looking for is that, and I think that's what you would want to work towards. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just hear it and I'm just like, oh, it's raggedy. It's just like it's associated with all of this, like we're talking about now, all of the, it's not good to be sexually irresponsible too. I think that's the other thing as well. Like it's a red flag. If somebody's not capable of being disciplined sexually, that's an indication that they might not be somebody that's good, you know, they're not somebody that's going to be a good partner. That's not somebody who you want to like, have a commitment with. And I think that to me is what the turnoff is. It's like, to me, it's like, okay, this person is not disciplined. Seth says, my partner's parents are swingers and it's also just humiliating for the kids. You know what? I worked with someone who was a swinger once. her and her husband were swingers. But I mean, they were that I understand more than like this stuff. Like I understand like little one-offs and like having little dalliances and like I understand that more than I understand like having like this wife here and this wife here and this wife here or this relationship here or oh we're a throuple or I understand that more. I understand it more from a human behavior standpoint, from a human nature standpoint. Like, I can understand though that would be embarrassing if your kids knew about it though. Like, oh, I can imagine that would be very difficult to deal with. Polar Knight says, nothing's wrong with you. I think the quality of people in the current dating climate is S word, and it makes sense more often than not to opt out of dating. Well, I'm not opting out of dating. I am available. I do go on dates. And I don't agree with you. I think there's plenty of good people out there. It's just like, are we going to be compatible? There's certain dating I don't do. I don't do online dating. I don't do the apps. I don't do that kind of thing. If I'm going to go on dates, it's going to be somebody I know through like, my friends or, through maybe some organization I'm involved in. I'm not going to, outside of that, no. I'm not, or maybe I think my neighbors too. That's come up quite a bit. I do find like E West says it's selfish, lack of self-control. Polar Knight says, I don't doubt there's good people. I don't know. I just think, or I guess I think they're harder to find. Yeah, I mean, if you want quality, you have to dig, and you're going to have to deal with like people that just are not what you're looking for. So, I mean, that's I think part of it. And, I think too, it's difficult, for most of the relationships I've had, I've just met someone and there was like an instant connection. And so like learning how to date is difficult for me because I'm more used to that. I'm more used to that kind of feeling like there's an attraction, there's a feeling of connection, of camaraderie, desire, and that's kind of like been how I've gotten into relationships in the past. But that hasn't really worked out either, and I'm kind of looking for myself, I think, just something more. It has to be more than that. E West says, would you try online dating? No, I don't think honey, if I think, okay, I did try online dating years ago, like 10 plus years ago. I was on OK Cupid or something like that, one of those sites. I think it was OK Cupid. So I went on a few dates through that and I didn't like it. And what's available now in terms of online dating is so much worse. And I don't like the culture that it breeds either. I don't like it. And I honestly, I don't think from people I've known and talked to about it as well, because I'm not the only one that feels this way, but I've just had an instinctual rejection of it in my mind. I'm not going on my phone and swiping at people. Okay. Human beings are not products, they're not a catalog that you're going to scroll through. Okay. It's much better to meet people through your network, period. It's better to meet people in person. It's better to go out and meet people, because if people meet you, they see you as a real person. Whereas on this thing, and I'm not gonna fucking chat with people. Like, I don't have the time to sit there chatting with someone I don't even know who thought my picture was cute. And it's always gonna be some stupid ass conversation. It's like, no, no. So yeah, no, eWest, I wouldn't. I already did years ago. I didn't like that experience. I didn't like the format. I prefer to meet people in person. Period. So I'm honestly like, I'm not the kind of gal you can get on Tinder, okay? I'm a little bit above that, don't you think? Like, really? Do I look like I belong on that no. I think I'm sorry. No. No. Okay. Uh, yeah, so Frank said, did someone say available? Yes, I am available. I am not single. I am available. Polar nights. Yep, dating apps treat people like a grocery store. Yeah, it's like being on Amazon or something. Like, ooh, what can I get? Like, that's not. I don't want to start. I don't like it. Also, it's just a big time waster. Why would I do that when I could go out to events and meet people? Why would I do that when I could go actually meet people in person and they can actually see and experience me, you know? And I can see and experience them. Like, why? Why would I just, no, it's not as good. It's just not as good of an experience. I like to meet people. I like to strike up a rapport. If somebody sees me, they're going to know what I look like. The other thing too is I have a disability. I want people to know that right away. I'm not going to be dealing with somebody like swiping on me and then like just dealing with the rejection after they find out like that I have this condition. I'm not going to deal with that. If I meet people in person, they see right away. Okay, but they also meet me as a person as well, and they see me as a complete human being because I'm there in front of them. Duh. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. And if people want to do that, that's on them. But I just hear so many horror stories from people about it. And the other thing is too, like, for example, a lot of people treat these things like hookups, and I don't hook up. That's the other thing. Like, I'm not in a hookup culture. I don't do that. I don't want to be on a site known for that. Like, no. So there. Those are all my opinions about that. No. Seth says a 2D image of someone does not give them enough credit in my experience. Like all these other things, like their body language and behavior can make them so much more attractive. Yeah, I agree too. Like I'm not that visual in terms of my attraction to people. I mean, every now and then I'll see someone that's just like, oh, But yes, usually not. That doesn't keep me attracted to them. It doesn't pull me in either. Like, it's got to be more than that. Also, I'm the pretty one. Okay. We can't both be the pretty one. I'm the pretty one. Thank you. E West says, lol, it's so easy. What do you mean it's so easy? What's so easy? Are you talking about online dating? Because it's not. I don't know. It's not that easy. It's a time killer. I gotta sit there swiping on people, and then I gotta like, chat with them, wait for them to ask me on a date, and they're gonna be asking me stupid ass questions about like, what do you like to do? Oh, shut up. Do you want to go on a date with me or not? That too, like people on there, that's not where quality people are. Period. I mean, and that's the thing too. Like I told you when I was speaking earlier, like it's easy for people who have no standards to, get into these relationships over and over again, and to always have someone. If you don't like have any standards, and if you're not something much yourself, okay, like, and for me, it's just I've had to like deal with the fact that, I am not low hanging fruit. People have to climb if they're going to get me. And well, it can be lonely up here. Like, it's also pretty nice. It's also pretty nice because it's not, I've had to develop myself as a person and, learn about myself and know what I actually want and what works for me. And what works for other people just isn't going to work for me because I'm not easily pleased either. I think that's the other thing too, like understanding what, not just what you want, but like what makes you happy, what works for you. You have to know yourself to know that. Cancerous Amphibian says, where are they? Need to know. Where are who, honey? Where are they? Who is they? I think I need to try to find more friends. Yes, you do, honey. I highly recommend good quality people. Yeah. Okay, the thing is, if you meet somebody through your friendship group, they're going to have more respect for you than a random stranger you meet on the internet because you have no people in common. Your friends will also be able to vet them. That's the other thing. Your friends can say like, "Oh, yeah, this person is good. This person, isn't." It's better. It's better to meet people in person. So I would recommend for you, like, get involved in some kind of club, maybe start going to events, maybe start volunteering for some sort of like charity or club or something like that. Get a hobby. There's ways of meeting people, okay? And like make friends. Because yeah, honestly, if you don't have enough friends, you don't have enough people in your, world, like how are you gonna actually meet the kind of people you want to meet for a partner? Seth B says, I'm a cardinal sign. You, meaning me, are a cardinal sign. No easy pleasing. Yeah, that's true. And I'm a Capricorn. I'm not just a cardinal sign, I'm the cardinal sign. I'm cardinal Earth, okay? Earth. That's Earth. Can't please Earth. Oh my God, Seth, I just want to do an addendum. The last live stream, we were talking about Saturn. I don't know what the hell I was going off about. Saturn has been in Aquarius for a while now. So you must be a Saturn in Pisces. So it's coming up. So yeah. just want to addendum that. I was like watching back again. I'm like, Terri, Saturn went into Aquarius at the start of the pandemic. That was like the whole thing. That's why that whole thing happened. I was just like, oh my God. Polar Knight says, online dating has a lot of flaws. It could work on other platforms where you just make friends and can find someone worthwhile, but then you'd have to deal with the physical distance. I've done that a bit. Like I've met people online through like different social media sites, and honestly, I wouldn't do it again. I mean, never say never, but I'm not really even on social media like I was before. And I have to say, like the people I met like on Twitter or even like through YouTube, I think when I was younger too, I was looking for someone who shared similar beliefs as me, similar philosophies, although they never ended up being like the same. I have to say that as well. Like I never met anyone who like really understood where I was coming from. And I'd like often find that like after having conversations with them about politics or philosophy or whatever, that I'd be like, they don't get it. You know, they don't get it. So, I mean, but I also like at that time, I was like looking for someone who shared similar politics because, I didn't want to have like the situations come up where like I was the problem, but really that was just like isolation. And it made me think that the dating pool was like really small for me. And I could only like look at this very small select group of people. And in reality, like that was a really bad like pool to be fishing in anyway. So yeah, like I don't know. I just didn't, yeah, I didn't have really good experience. Oh, your Saturn is in Aries. Okay, okay. All right, so you got some time, honey. That's good. That's good. A couple years. Saturn and Aries, to think about that one. I don't think we're going to go there with this live stream, though. But overall, there is no good substitute for meeting someone in real life. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's what I'm looking for. I want to meet somebody in real life, like a normal human being. The internet, like, it's, we treat it like it's just going to give us everything and that we want in life. And it's not the case. Yeah, some people have met through the internet. I'm happy for those who have, but like, I really prefer if I met someone in person. East West says, I'm a Capricorn too. Hell yeah. Poor you. East West says, it's always better to be friends first. All right, y'all. I think I need to cut this off because I have been on here way longer than I thought. We've talked about sister wives. I don't know if anybody has any closing thoughts about sister wives. Do not be like Janelle, okay? Don't trust that people have your best interests at heart. Don't ever do that. Don't ever think that somebody is going to put you or take care of you. I mean, that's the thing. She cashed out her 401k to help buy this fourth wife her big ass McMansion, okay? She did that. She invested in this family, and she's basically in a situation where she's walking away. She has no legal rights to anything. Her name is not on anything, any of the family assets. She is screwed in terms of that. And like we all know, everybody's like publicly seeing what's going on. We all know that she is entitled to stuff, but entitled in terms of how we feel about it versus like what is legal. No. So I guess my takeaway about this, just, to wrap up about the whole sister wives thing, to bring it back there, like, don't ever get involved with a trifling ass polygamist. Don't ever put yourself in a situation where you don't have any assets in your name. Do not trust people who aren't looking out for you 100%. I guess that's the thing, like I would say. And she was, ooh, I don't even get into it. She was upset when they announced that Cody was going to divorce Mary and like marry Robin. And I think with good reason, because like it just, I think maybe confirmed her second class status would be permanent in that family, despite the fact that she was one of the main earners. And I don't know why she agreed to this situation like she did, because, she seems, to those of us like watching the show and most of the fans, she seems like such an awesome woman. Like all of them are, and I think that's kind of what drew people into the show, was like these women seemed so interesting, all of them, so unique, interesting. But yeah, she really got put in a situation she should not be in, and it's her fault because she like trusted and put her faith in something other than like herself and looking out for number one, because nobody was looking out for her at the end of the day. So, I mean, we didn't even get into the weird stuff about the COVID protocols, because in the last few seasons that I've watched, the family was really the patriarch, the husband of the family. He really kind of used COVID to even further isolate himself from his other wives, specifically. Like there were all these crazy rules that went above and beyond what was recommended by the government. Um, and that really put a large strain on his relationships with his other kids and wives. And they really just kind of got even further isolated by that. So I feel like, too, and just to like sidetrack from there, I think a lot of people used COVID as an excuse as well. It wasn't just, it was visible very publicly in this family, but there were so many circumstances where people weren't showing up, they weren't doing what they needed to do because of fear about COVID. And now that we've kind of like come out of this in many ways as various nations and communities, I'm still like reeling, because I was really against everything that happened. I'll be honest with you all, from the offset, like the whole shutdowns, the whole quarantining, all of it was, I had really bad vibes about it. The way people were acting about it, I don't think it would have taken off if people weren't so into social media the way they are. And I think that people really lost it with COVID. But regardless, my personal feelings about everything that happened there, it was very evident on this show that this guy was using COVID as an excuse not to see his wives and kids, and to like further elevate his status. And there was an episode where his two of his older sons, by Janelle, confronted him about it, because they were mad. They hadn't seen him, they hadn't heard from him. One of them apparently like texted his fourth wife and was complaining to her, blaming her for it, which she of course played victim about again, like as if it wouldn't be understandable why these kids would feel like maybe she had something to do with it. But anyway, yeah, they confronted him about it, and he was just like, they're like, you are always with her, da, da, da. And he was just like, she's the only obedient wife. But like these rules that he created were so insane that it's hard to believe that they were following them, honestly. But anyway, that's enough. The whole moral of the story is that polygamy is wrong and bad. It harms children, it harms women, it puts it elevates useless ass men who in any other circumstance would just be seen as the irresponsible, baby fathers that they are, who are irresponsibly spreading their seed about. And yeah, it just is a drain on society generally. So, with that, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the well wishes here at the end in the chat. Oh, yeah, that's very sweet. Thank you, Polar Nights. And yes, Frank, thumbs down. And yeah, stay away from men with gel in their permed bangs. And with that, I'll see you next time. Bye.